Indeed, the biggest world exclusive. Russian Foreign Minister Sergey Lavrov speaks to India today, a first exclusive coming in from Russia. The man in point, the man in question, the man in command after Putin. Foreign Minister Sergey Lavrov speaks to India today in the biggest exclusive. Here are some of the big takeaways as he speaks to Foreign Affairs Editor, India Today, Geeta Mohan. Let me take you through some of those statements that Sergey Lavrov has spoken to India today. In a first, Lavrov has said that Zelenskyy wanted nuclear weapons. He further says no winner in nuclear war. In fact, Lavrov further goes on to deny any war crimes in Bucha. The Russian foreign minister blames NATO completely for triggering this war and then says that we didn't target civilian areas. It was orchestrated by Ukraine. And further, finally says Zelenskyy changes his mind every time there is talks between the two countries. Let's take a listen, a quick glimpse into the biggest exclusive right here on India Today. Foreign Minister of Russia, Sergey Lavrov.
India Today has traveled to Donetsk, and we have been putting out those reports. And they're important because it is important to understand the plight of Russian descent and Russian-speaking people in Ukraine. And there is no taking away from that. And we will talk about Donbass. But coming back to the allegations against Russia on genocide, on war crimes, and on the fact that chemical weapons have been used by Russian forces. What do you have to say to the visuals? You're saying that there were no bodies. There were bodies in the basements that have been found much later, that would have been found anyway much later. Will there be no investigation that will be carried out? Why just say that it did not happen?
We are investigating the atrocities of the neo-Nazi battalions of Ukraine and of Ukrainian armed forces. There is a special commission created in Russian chamber. We have it anyway. There is a public organization which is very experienced. They have been discovering the fakes staged by so-called white helmets in Syria, in many other cases, and we will not cease our efforts to establish the truth. We are used to the fact that the United States, United Kingdom, and other Western countries have a very interesting habit. They just throw in a news when they believe this news would work ideologically for their benefit. And then when it comes to facts, and when more and more facts are discovered which put big question mark on their assertion, they just lose interest. 2007, London, poisoning of Mr. Litvinenko, huge outcry. The trial begins, and after a few weeks, the trial is made public, which in UK means secret. Until now, we cannot get the facts about what actually happened to Mr. Litvinenko. 2014, Malaysian Airlines, Boeing, shot down over Ukraine. We presented huge amount of facts. We requested that we be part of the investigation. No way. Ukrainians who did not close the skies during the conflict were invited to this special investigation group. Russia was not. Malaysia, as the owner of the plane, was invited only 5 months later, after the Australians, the Dutch, and Malaysians agreed among themselves that anything coming out of this group must be subject to consensus. Meaning, Ukraine, which did not close the skies, had a veto power on this investigation. So we could not get the truth on this one as well. 2019, Salisbury poisoning. The people disappeared. The only proof which was made public is highly likely, as Theresa May said. The Brits insisted on expulsion of Russian diplomats by most of the European countries. And when I asked my friends, did they provide the proof beyond the public statements about highly likely it was Russia? They said no, but they promised to. I checked 1 year later whether this was done. It was not done. And so on and so forth. 2020, our opposition blogger, Mr. Navalny, was poisoned. We asked the Germans, and we immediately, responded to the German request to let him go to the Berlin hospital. 24 hours later, after the request, he was flown to Berlin. We don't have any confirmation who was flying with him, where did they get the bottle, which is the key element in this investigation. And when we asked the Germans to show us the formula which they discovered in his body, they said this is military secret. It is us who until now insist on the truth about Litvinenko, about the Skripals, about the Malaysian Boeing, and about Navalny. The stories which they stage in Ukraine these days are from the same